Um, I just want to say how very sorry I am for...
She should be locked up until she tells us what happened.
The truth is that I want an answer just as bad as all of you.
We're talking about 17 kids in one classroom. I want to know what happened in that classroom. Why just her classroom? Why only her?
They're our children.
I love those kids.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town. A lot of people die in a lot of really weird ways in this story, but you're not going to find it in the news.
Those kids walked out of those homes. No one pulled them out. No one forced them. What do you see that I don't?
Show me. Where did you go?
There's something very, very wrong going on.
Come on, who am I looking at?
Leave the investigating to the investigators.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Fresh Cuts. This is Mike. Joining me, as always, it's Mr. Venom. What's up, Venom?
Greetings and salutations, mindless assassins. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I doubt we have any mindless assassins watching because, I don't know, do we want mindless people listening to our show? I don't know, whatever. How the fuck are you, Mike? I'm doing pretty well.
I'm doing well. I actually got out to the theater twice this weekend. So
Nice.
the movie that we're talking about, and what was it, Strange Harvest it was called?
Yeah.
Which I did like that one too. So
like is an understatement for me. I absolutely adored it. I loved it. I love, for those who don't know, obviously most people know I'm a found footage guy. And then when it comes to documentary style found footage, it's probably my favorite, little micro genre of the found footage subgenre. And Savage Land is probably my favorite of those types of movies. And Strange Harvest is easily the best one of this style since Savage Land. So yeah, I doubt it'll still be in theaters when, by the time this episode is, released and you guys are listening to it. But I also don't think it'll be a long wait for VOD. So I would say a strong recommend for Strange Harvest once it hits VOD. And that's all I'll say about that one.
all right. Well, with that, I'm going to introduce Don and Nelly, our other co-host. What's up, Don?
Yeah, what's going on? Always happy to be here.
All right. And then also with us are actually, Venom, do you want to introduce our guest, since you kind of, I would say did the work to get him, but
Well, our guest this week is someone that I haven't worked with in a very long time. I did sporadic episodes of the Horror Mafia podcast with these guys, which of course our friend Don and Nelly was also a part of. And then for a short time, I was also a co-host with our guest on a show called Beneath the Zenith, where we did a couple of great episodes about conspiracy theories, cryptids, things like that. So yeah, our guest this week is Bill Cassinelli. How the hell you doing, Bill?
Hi, been a long time. I'm no longer in Bangor, Maine. Now I'm in sunny Florida.
Ah, a change of scenery. Very nice.
So that explains the Hawaiian shirt at the beginning.
Exactly. Every day's Hawaiian shirt day in Florida. But
yeah, my mother lives in where does she live? Port St. Lucie. So yeah,
yes,
I know.
Shut the front door. That's where I live.
Are you kidding? Yeah, my mother is in Port St. Lucie. She just bought a house like 3 years ago out there.
That's too
awesome.
Why should be my neighbor? That'd be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome. We'll talk after the show. maybe next time I visit my mom, I'll stop in. Awesome.
You're always welcome. But yeah, I mean, I love it here. I thank you guys so much for the opportunity. after seeing this movie the first time, I had to talk about it to somebody, and I just had so much stuff to talk about for this film in particular. So I'm so glad you invited me.
Oh, anytime, buddy. So yeah, Mike, go ahead and introduce our film, buddy.
Yeah, all right. So the movie being referenced probably is not hard to guess. It's Weapons. We did at the end of our last episode, we pretty much alluded that this was most likely going to be it, and it is. So off IMDb, the synopsis: when all but one child from the same class mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. All right, this one was a longer one, 2 hours and 8 minutes. Currently sitting at 7.9 on IMDb, so that at least is a good sign for our thoughts, but that isn't always foolproof, but we'll find out. So we're gonna actually do it a little different on this episode because of the long running time. We are swapping out the usual walkthrough for opening with general thoughts, which is normal, but then after that, we're just going to kind of open the discussion in general rather than like a structured walkthrough. So we will still give the spoiler warning before that happens, but just in case anyone hears like somewhat of a different format. So with that, we will start with our general thoughts. Venom, what did you think of Weapons?
All right, I'm going to try to keep my general thoughts short and sweet. I know that it's almost an impossibility for me, somebody who likes to talk. But obviously, since we have a guest, I want to make sure that all of my co-hosts have plenty to talk about during their general thoughts. So where do I start with this movie? I absolutely fucking love this movie. I just had such a blast with this movie. Now, to give you a little bit of background, I feel like this movie is one of the best edited horror movies of the last decade. I absolutely adore this style of editing. To give people kind of a general example, for those Simpsons fans out there, if you guys remember the episode Trilogy of Error from the 12th season of The Simpsons, it was an episode where basically we saw the events of a certain day, but told by three different characters' perspectives. So it was Lisa's day, Bart's day, and Homer's day. Well, guess what? Weapons utilizes that exact same type of editing style, which I fucking love. Our movie is cut into 6 chapters. All 6 chapters are named after the main character in each chapter. Chapters are named Justine, Archer, Paul, James, Marcus, and Alex. And you get to see a lot of the same events portrayed in multiple segments. But they're not just exactly the same looking. Like, we're getting different camera angles, we're getting different character perspectives, and like I said, folks, I absolutely love that style. Trilogy of Error is one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons because of that editing style, along with the fact that the jokes in that episode obviously are awesome. So of course it's great. But yeah, back to Weapons. I was shocked how often this movie felt like an Oz Perkins movie to me. Most specifically, Longlegs and the Black Coat's daughter. There's multiple moments in this movie where I'm like, holy shit, how was this not directed by Oz Perkins? This movie kind of has that sense of extended dread that Longlegs gave us. Now, with Longlegs, I famously talked about it in my review, how I feel a sense of dread from the first frame of that film all the way to the final frame of that movie. From beginning to end, you're off-putting. Like, you're just, there's something wrong with this world and you can't put your finger on it. Well, Weapons isn't quite that intense. You don't have that sustained sense of dread from beginning to end, but once the events start to roll into motion, you start to get that sense of, oh boy, who's next? Like, as people start getting bumped off, and people that you wouldn't expect to get bumped off are suddenly dying. From there on, this thing's an absolute roller coaster ride. I fucking loved it. Now, I will admit there are some unintentional comedy in the film. There's a scene with Josh Brolin beating up a teenager that keeps popping up from unconsciousness that obviously, I don't know that it was meant to be funny, but everybody in the theater, we're all having a good time laughing at Josh Brolin's frustration with not being able to knock out this kid. And then, of course, our final sequence of the film comes off as mildly comical, but I'm still going to say incredibly satisfying. I was so satisfied with this ending. A petty, vindictive asshole like myself fucking loves these types of endings, you know? Now, I have two major problems with the film, and those two major problems are about the only thing keeping me from calling this a 10 out of 10. Those two problems are the idiocy of the police in this movie. This movie isn't a police procedural, not nearly like Longlegs was. There is police interaction in here, but it's, you know, not so much under the guise of investigation. It's just kind of circumstance that one of the police officers becomes a main character in the film, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, definitely not a police procedural, but there are elements of police procedurals in here. Again, like I said, it feels a lot like Longlegs throughout certain parts of the film. And I absolutely love that. But like I said, the fact that there are some very simple facts that the police missed in this movie left me scratching my head as I walked out of the theater the first time. I did get to see this twice this weekend. On second watch, it didn't bother me as much, but it still is a point of contention for me. And then the only other thing about this movie that I'm going to knock it for is the ambiguity of our villains' motivations. Like, why do they do what they do? How can they do what they do? Like, the villain in this movie, though we know who the villain is about halfway through the film, there's an ambiguous nature to this person. You know, what are their motivations? Why are they doing this? She gives her nephew a kind of sort of roundabout answer as to why she wants to do this, but I think she's lying to her nephew. I think she lies to her nephew throughout most of this film, but we'll get to that when we kind of get more into spoilers. But overall, I got to say, from a filmmaking standpoint, this is a fucking masterpiece. It is beautifully shot. I've already talked about how much I adore the editing of this film. The score is amazing. The fact that this guy, Zach Kreger, who, by the way, is also the writer-director of Barbarian from a couple of years ago, another movie that I raved about a few years back, just the way that he shoots, like there'll be scenes of kids running in the darkness. In and of themselves, that shouldn't be all that creepy. But based on how it was shot and based on the score that's playing in the background, it gives a major sense of menace to that cold open. And, you know, watching the Catalyst event play out, you know, during the cold open, which is also something that a lot of movies don't do. I mean, we actually get the Catalyst event for this movie during the cold open. So it's like the crime itself isn't necessarily the point of what's going on. It's more the reasoning behind it, the you know, how it's done, things like that. So like I said, for me, I love this movie beginning, middle, and end. Yes, some people might have some pacing issues. It is over 2 hours long. And admittedly, parts of the first and second act do drag maybe a little tiny bit. But I was fully invested from the beginning. I thought, oh, and then the performances. I mean, Josh Brolin as one of the dads, awesome job. Julia Gardner as our teacher, the teacher of this class that disappears. By the way, what a year Julia Gardner's having. 2025, she's only done 3 movies, and I love all 3 of them. She started out the year with The Wolfman. I know The Wolfman was a movie that maybe not a lot of people liked as much as I did, but I absolutely loved it because it did something different with the werewolf genre. And I've always said in the past, when a director tries to do something different, whether he succeeds or fails, I'll always give them credit for it. But I loved Wolfman. And then she was in this tiny little Marvel movie called The Fantastic Four, the biggest fucking movie of the year so far, playing the Silver Surfer. Again, a good performance from her as the Silver Surfer. The Silver Surfer is a very robotic character, no pun intended. So, there's obviously not going to be a whole lot of emotion in that performance. And then weapons. So, I mean, 3 out of 3 for 2025. Julia Gardner is turning into one of my favorite genre actresses. I hope she continues with the genre. And I'm going to cut off my general thoughts here because, folks, it's not hyperbole when I say I could go on for about another 2 hours talking about everything that I loved about this movie. So I'm just going to cut off my general thoughts by saying this is an absolute theatrical recommend. It's currently playing in IMAX. I strongly recommend checking it out in IMAX because of some of this beautiful cinematography that we get, some of the great effects. And I haven't even talked about the gore. I'll leave that to some of my co-hosts because, again, the gore and kills were very surprising in this movie. So like I said, that's it for my general thoughts. Just want to leave something for my co-host to talk about before we really get into the nitty gritty of this about, in about a half hour or so. So that's it for me. Back to you, Mike.
All right. Let's go over to Donanelli for your thoughts on weapons.
All right. Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. I will say first and foremost, unless you're in a Bollywood horror film or a page accurate Stephen King adaptation, there's no excuse for horror to be 2 hours long. Yeah, maybe I could complain about the pacing. Maybe I could complain a little bit about some extraneous scenes that don't really go anywhere. But yeah, the main thing here is that even though I'm invested, even though I'm not really going to complain as much about the pacing as you think I am, this thing still feels its length, and that's just not one of the things that I want to be doing with my films. Trim this thing down. After that, I found this thing more funny than scary. I can sense where Venom is coming from, but yeah, this thing was far more often. It felt like it was going for a joke rather than going for a scare. A lot of the investigation results, a lot of the different interactions. It felt more like it was going for a comedy rather than it was going for not necessarily more like a horror film, but more like the tension was kind of released more with the joke than anything else. And it kind of just left a lot of the main scenes, like especially towards like the hour and a half mark, or what was it? I think by the time like we get to like the fourth and fifth chapters, it really kind of started to wear thin a little bit. Whether that's just because I didn't really care for those characters that well. I definitely enjoyed the first act more than anything. I think the opening introduction, the main mystery about what's going on, that's fantastic. I think it's a great hook. I love what's going on here. I love the ploy to investigate what's going on. By the third and fourth acts, and especially like in the last two, it kind of starts wearing a little thin. As Venom said, some of that could also be because the police investigators are morons. They're just complete idiots. A lot of the stuff probably shouldn't be this difficult to figure out, especially since the main villain's pretty obvious. And I mean, I know that they reveal it to the audience pretty early on, but what's going on here should also be fairly obvious to the police officers, and maybe that kind of just drains a little bit of the tension. Maybe that's what change on a second watch, because I unfortunately only got to it once. But yeah, other than that, I would say I enjoyed it. Like I said, I think the central premise is there. I think the atmosphere of the town, the situation, the burgeoning mystery that gets unraveled, all of that's fairly well done, and I really like where it goes. As Venom said, the kills in here when they finally start happening, they're fantastic. Not kill of the year material yet. There's still a few others that I kind of want to get to, especially once I'm done with my Asian horror exploration that I usually do every August. But yeah, they were really great. A couple of couple of the scenes in here kind of shocked me with how brutal it went. So yeah, kudos to that. Just yeah, I wish this would have kept. I wish this would have trimmed itself down a little bit. Maybe shrink a couple of the middle chapters, changed around some of the stupidity with the cops. But overall, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't. I don't know whether or not the running time is going to be a factor. If it is, I would say wait for streaming. But if it's not a bother, yeah, this is an absolute recommend. The technical qualities are on point. I love the look of the town. I love the way it all feels. I wouldn't say that it's like a retro kind of a feel. Like it definitely feels like something that came out of the 80s, but it has like an old school quality to it that I really enjoy. And it kind of, especially in the first couple of chapters, it really definitely helps add with the immersion and what's going on quite a bit. So yeah, it looks great. It looks looks the part, sounds the part. Just yeah, I wish it would have had just a little bit stronger writing. I do like this more than Barbarian, which again I liked, but I wasn't really that huge on. So yeah, Zach's definitely 2 for 2. I do like this one a little bit more. So yeah, don't know what else to say without giving away almost everything else. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Could use some tightening, could use a few minor adjustments here and there, but overall it was a fun time. Probably on the outer skirts, the outer edges of my top 10 list. We'll see where we stand with the rest of the year. But I can see this making my top 10 pretty on the back end, but definitely being there. So guess I'll leave it at that and say back to you, Mike.
All right. Next up, I'll kick it over to our guest, Bill Cassinelli. So, what are your thoughts on weapons?
Oh, my thoughts. I'm pretty much on par with Mr. Venom here. I think this is my number one movie of the year, and I don't think it'll be topped even by the upcoming Good Boy and whatnot. But oh, by the way, speaking of Strange Harvest, it's only playing at 11 p.m. here, and I just don't want to be out that late at night seeing a movie, so I don't think I'll be able to see it.
Yeah, that was the same thing in California. It was only playing like at 7 p.m. and later.
Yeah,
so that sucked.
Which is unfortunate, but that's okay. I will catch it. I want it. Anyway, as far as this movie goes, I loved Barbarian. I did. It had its flaws, but I loved it. And I thought that this would be on par. No, it stepped it up. It's like the director made Barbarian, but learned from his mistakes and upped the ante. Because it reminded me very much of it, where you get the laughs that are, you don't want to laugh because something really uncomfortable is going on screen, but at the same time you can't help but ease the tone with the scenes you're seeing. I really love that. Upon further inspection, I looked and I saw that Zach Kreger was one of the whitest kids you know, and I had no idea. So I went and delved into that show, and oh my God, it's one of the funniest sketch comedy shows on TV I've ever seen. And as funny as Kids in the Hall. Well, that just made it better because I think people who can do comedy is hard. If you can do comedy, you can do horror, because I think that comedy and horror release the same kind of endorphins in your brain. So if he can make you laugh, he can make you scream. And I thought that the running time was fine. I had no idea the movie had already passed. I mean, I had no trouble. I never got bored. I loved each character. And surprisingly, I liked a junkie better than I liked a cop in a movie. I'm telling you, this movie, it was all over the place, but so much fun. And I really, really enjoyed it. There is one really, really big plot hole, though, that I did not notice the first time. But the second time, I said, wait a minute. I heard, I believe it was on a show called Sinister Cinema. Jason Smith brought it up. So upon the second time, I said, yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right. There's a big plot hole, and I'll discuss that in the spoiler in discussion. But Yeah, and I couldn't think anything but that one plot hole. That's the only thing I did not like about this movie. But apart from that, I mean, I had a blast from beginning to end. The gore is great, the humor is fantastic. I mean, there's so much going on that you're always looking in the corner for some other clue when then something else appears in front of you that makes you squirm. Oh, everything about this movie was perfect to me. And while I didn't see long legs, I do see where you're coming from, where it seems just like something that Osgood Perkins would do. Holy cow, this was something else. And yeah, running time was fine. Movie from beginning to end was great. The gore, I did not expect them to get away with that much gore in this. I think again, the humor was perfect, timed just right so that you're uneasy at the same time you're giggling. Like you mentioned at the end. Yeah, it's funny, but it's not funny. But that's what makes it perfect. Um, oh gosh, I can't wait to get into the characters and oh my gosh, I all right, I'll stop this now. So I just want to dig deep into the spoilers. So up to you, Mike.
All right. So for me, I will say I'm probably close to dawn on this. I liked it. I think it's good. I'm stopping short of great, but I have only seen it the one time. I think this movie is carried by the great performances. Like I know originally Pedro Pascal was supposed to be on it, but I actually think Josh Brolin replacing him was like good
I
because
agree. Best they
I
did.
yeah, I think him playing kind of like the angry, distraught dad, I just think he's a better fit. I'm not saying Pascal couldn't have done it, but like Brolin, he just has that natural kind of demeanor
He
on
oozes
him where
emotion.
like you totally believe him as like a angry, upset father. Is it Julie
Yeah,
Garner? Is that her name?
yeah.
Uh,
Julia
Julia
uh,
Garner.
Gardner.
Julia. She was amazing. I like the fact that like even though it's kind of centered around her class, she's also like a flawed character. She's not like a perfect character either. I think it helps add to the mystery. So I guess to like lay it out generally, I think the strength of this movie is the mystery and story it lays out up front. I am where the movie kind of takes a little bit of a dip for me is like the third act, what it kind of reveals, but like it's hard to explain it without because I'm not trying to track because I still think it's a good movie. Um, but I just think I thought it was just set up so well. I'm trying to what can I say without spoiling it? I thought we got some good gore. I thought early on, I was a little afraid that they were going to rely on like the fake out too much, the fake out stuff, whether it's like dream sequences or what. But that kind of went away, which is good. They
Mhm.
kind of stopped doing that. Um, I have a question about like the different vantage points because like I thought they were good, like it was all good, but I'm not sure if it was like necessary to the plot of the movie because like when sometimes when movies do like the non-linear, I'm going to show it from different perspectives, sometimes there's actual like multiple like mini stories going on that like intersect. um but this one, it was more that like they were all just kind of going about their life and there was like crossover within the main story. Was I think it was well done. Like I was thoroughly entertained. I just wasn't sure. I thought it was an interesting decision. I'll put it that. I'm not going to say it was a wrong or bad decision. I thought it was interesting, and I think that's something like a second watch. Maybe like it'll win me over more doing it that way. Um, I thought there was creepy moments. Uh, I do think that like yeah, there was some definitely like some comic relief after some like tense moments, kind of like the nervous laughter. I had a decent sized crowd and it did get the intended response in those moments, so that's good. I mean, to me, if it's effective, it's probably what they were going for, and it succeeded there. I do think like I don't know about you guys, but the way they set it up, it almost kind of made it like super like direct once we kind of get somewhere with like what's going on, because there's a character that's introduced, and then like from that point on, it's like, okay, you you pretty much assume um what what's happening here, just because like the character is so like out of place with like the rest of the town, I guess. I mean, that's I'm trying to tread lightly there until we get to the spoilers. But overall, yeah, I just think the performances were great. The running time really doesn't bother me, but I'm I'm not someone that is usually bothered by long running times, as long as the story's engaging, as long as the quality of the story is there to justify it. And I felt here it was. So I didn't really have a problem with that. Um and that third act, not even the whole third act, but just kind of like that finale sequence, I thought was like a pretty good payoff. Like it it got pretty wild there. And that's not even to say, because like the very, very end, there's even more to say on that, like how things kind of ended up in like, I don't know if we'd really call it an epilogue so much as just like the aftermath. Yeah, that's more appropriate. The aftermath is interesting, to something to discuss too. But yeah, overall, I am a fan. I thought it was good. I probably could be moved on it though up to great. Whether is it a top 10 right now for me? I could see right now, yeah, it being in the top 10, because I kind of, when I think off the top of my head, I have like a firm 3 to 4 that like I know. Other than that, it's kind of wide open, and I think this, as of now, would have a place on it. So, um, without like just repeating what everyone else said in general thoughts, I'll leave it at that. And I would recommend seeing it in the theater, because it's going to take me a lot to say don't go to the theater. So yes, I recommend seeing it in the theater. Back to you, Venom.
Yeah, I'm right there with Mike and Bill. I had no issues with this runtime. In general, I'm like Mike. I don't care how long a movie is, as long as it's engaging. Even if it's a slow burn, which a lot of 2 hour plus movies tend to have at least large sections of slow burns, as long as the story is interesting, the mystery is engaging, the characters are likable, I'm right there. I mean, we just talked about Together on the last episode and talked about how much I hated both of the main characters in that movie, which is obviously going to affect my, enjoyment of the film. I mean, if I have to spend 2 hours with two characters that I don't give a rat's ass about, it's going to affect my enjoyment of the film. Whereas this movie, whether they were protagonists or antagonists, I loved everybody in here. Everybody did their roles perfectly. And by the way, do we have to celebrate the fact that Justin Long appeared in a horror movie and didn't die or get turned into a walrus? Yeah. Like, is that a first? I think that's a first. Like, he survives a horror movie. Go figure. Granted,
I don't think he survived after that wife's look at him.
Oh, right. Yeah. And his wife was somebody too. She was like a name actress. Who the fuck was it? I forgot. That was damn it, I can't remember her name. But yeah, I remember seeing the wife, because we see the wife first when Josh Brolin's character comes to visit, and as soon as she opens the door, I'm like, hey. And now for the life of me, I can't fucking think of who the hell that was. God damn it. But I mean, like I said, Justin Long, Josh Brolin, Julia Gardner. We get an appearance from Benedict Wong in here, who of course is Wong from the MCU, specifically from the Doctor Strange movies, but always great to see him outside of the MCU, especially considering some of the fun that he gets to have with this role. I think this was a great performance by Benedict. Even June Diane Raphael. Most people probably don't know who the hell that is, but June Diane is one of the co-hosts of literally my favorite podcast ever. Well, my second favorite podcast ever. My favorite podcast ever is easily Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast, but my second favorite ever is the podcast called How Did This Get Made? And this is basically it's Paul Scheer, June Diane Raphael, and Jason Mantzoukas. And basically they watch bad movies and then they do a podcast about the movie where they basically make fun of it, question what the fuck the writer or the director were, what they were thinking about. But yeah, it was great to see June Diane in this as Donna, the jilted lover, Paul's girlfriend, who kind of gets wronged a little bit in this movie. But yeah, I was very impressed with this cast. Amy Madigan as Gladys was awesome again. Just yeah, great little cast, great filmmaking. Like I said, I disagree with Mike. I think that the editing style here was 100% warranted. Just for the way that the mystery unfolded throughout the movie, it just made it so much more enjoyable for me. I mean, think about it. When we watch a movie that only has one perspective, we're a slave to the director. We have to deal with what the director wants to show us. But when we watch a movie with editing like this, where we get to see different perspectives, we get to see different camera angles, we get to see things that maybe, we see things in Archer's story that we didn't see in Justine's story. You know what I mean? And those are the kind of things that really work for me, especially on rewatch. Like I rewatched this today. Today was my second watch of the film, and just noticing all the continuity stuff that they did correctly, that they like stuff that could be really, really easily messed up, that could screw up the continuity, but they didn't do it. They did it right. And goddamn, this filmmaker is, young. Obviously, this is only his second feature to my knowledge, and goddamn, he's turning into. I'm not gonna say master of horror yet, because 2 or 3 movies does not make you a master of horror. Sorry, Jordan Peele. You got to do a little bit more before I put that tag on you. But yeah, I am definitely looking forward to what this dude has coming out next. So, and by the way, the thing that he's working on right now is the next film adaptation of my favorite video game franchise, Resident Evil. Yes, I know. I just heard a collective groan from everyone as soon as I said Resident Evil. It's a very maligned film franchise. I understand that. But considering the strength of Barbarian and weapons, I am greatly looking forward to this Resident Evil chapter. I've already said it's my favorite video game franchise ever. I love every chapter of that franchise, even the lesser ones. So I am very looking forward to Zach Kreger's Resident Evil, supposedly coming out sometime in 2026. So look out for that.
That's also his favorite game of all time, but he's not going to pursue the story of like Leon or wherever. Because it's already been told. So he's going to keep it in the universe and keep to the lore, though. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what he's got in store for us.
Exactly. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I love the MCU so much, is that they're not constantly bombarding us with origin stories. Like, how many more fucking times do I have to watch Uncle Ben die? Well, guess what? The MCU didn't make me watch that, because when they introduced Spider-Man, he was already Spider-Man, and I love that. So yeah, just like the MCU doing things right, it seems like Zach Kreger is doing things right. Obviously, Resident Evil is going to be his highest budgeted film. So, sometimes when independent horror directors get money for the first time, it doesn't always come out right, because they're used to working on shoestring budgets. And then suddenly, when a studio backs a truck full of money up to their house, they think that, oh, okay, we can start, spending more money on this, on the effects, on getting better actors and this and that. And then they end up fucking just putting out a piece of crap when their micro budget horror movies are just that much better. So yeah, either way, really looking forward to what Zach Kreger's got coming up. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my co-host to see if anybody has anything they want to add outside of the spoiler realm, because after that will be your final spoiler warning, and we're going to get into an open discussion about this film. As I already said, I'm not doing a walkthrough because it'll take an hour and a half, and nobody here has that kind of time. So I said,
I do have 2 things.
Go ahead.
Sorry. As soon as I seen this the first time, I ran home and read the script. I had the script online, never opened it until I saw the movie. And I'll tell you what I feel about the changes there. And secondly, if you go into this movie and want to make a drinking game out of it, as some like Regal Cinema sells beer and alcohol, every time somebody in the movie says, "What the fuck," you got to drink.
Oh my God. Honestly, that was one of the funniest scenes in the whole movie, when Josh Brolin gets that jump scare in his dream and he wakes up and he just screams, "What the fuck?" Like, that was the loudest laugh I gave this movie. I thought that was hysterical.
I think every character except for Alex said that in the movie.
I believe it. Absolutely. I would not be surprised. Yeah. Definitely wasn't paying attention to what the fucks, but yeah, I can see it definitely. Mike, Don, anything else you want to add before we get into our spoiler discussion?
Nothing I can think of.
I was just gonna say I'm usually not a fan of like voiceovers at the beginning of movies, but I think this one it might be like literally the first line that because it's like a little girl's voice.
Mm-hmm.
It might literally be the first line that she says, based off my memory, that is kind of important because I think it's relevant to like how the movie plays out. And I was gonna get into more detail and general thoughts, but I figured that might tread the line of spoilers, so I'll wait for a few moments so we could get over to spoilers to explain what I mean.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to be your final spoiler warning. Everything after this point is going to be spoiler filled. So if you have not seen Weapons yet, please go ahead and pause the podcast. Go check out one of the best movies of the year, and then come back and join us to find out our more detailed thoughts on it. If you've already seen Weapons or have no interest, then go ahead and stick around and let's see what we got to say about it. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not doing a walkthrough. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the chapters here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the movie's cut up into 6 chapters. In order, they are Justine, Archer, Paul, James, Marcus, and Alex. And Justine, being the first segment, is actually the longest. That segment's almost 40 minutes long. But it also gives us the bulk of the lore and the information and everything that we're dealing with here. So during that first segment, of course, we get our cold open where the catalyst event occurs. We hear the little girl's voiceover saying that, one day in my hometown, 17 kids disappeared at 2:17 in the morning. She said that a whole bunch of people died in really weird ways, which I almost wish that line wasn't in the movie because I'm a gore hound and I almost expected this to be like a monkey type movie where there was going to be like a kill every 5 minutes or something. But no. It is a very limited amount of kills, but the kills that we get are fairly spectacular. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So like I said, Justine is the name of the first chapter. She is the school teacher who basically all of the kids from her class, except for one, disappeared. So 17 kids all disappeared. Of course, the police are grilling her. At one point, we go to a town hall meeting right before they're going to reopen the school, which is, if I remember correctly from the voiceover, it's approximately 1 month after the catalyst event of the kids disappearing. And, we see Josh Brolin, as a disgruntled parent, pissed off that the police aren't able to do anything, and then basically calling for them to arrest Julia Gardner, Justine, because of what she knows, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, this is one of those scenes where we get to see it in a different angle later when we actually get to the second chapter, which is Archer. We'll get to see the meeting from different angles. So I'm not sure. I mean, where do you guys want to kind of start this discussion? Do you want to kind of talk about just basic plot points of the story? Do you want to talk about kills? Do you want to talk about performances?
Yeah, I want to say one thing about the direction. The angle of her, before they say that there was one kid that was not missing, we didn't know that. We thought it was the whole class as a viewer. So the first time you see her walking into the class and the camera's tracking her, the cinematographer did a wonderful job of hiding that kid, Alex, until she moved. That was brilliant. What a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And I really noticed that on the second watch too, because that's one of the things I was looking for, how long was Alex in that chair? But obviously because of how it was shot with, her kind of being in between the camera and Alex. Absolutely perfect.
Well, granted, I was mostly looking at her ass, but I mean, still.
Hey, Julia Gardner's not ultra hard to look at. I'll give you that. I liked her painted all silver for whatever that's worth. But so like I said, obviously, the mystery kind of continues. We get investigations. The second chapter is called Archer, which is Josh Brolin's character. It turns out he is the father of Matthew. And it's kind of interesting because Matthew is actually Alex's bully. We actually see multiple scenes with Matthew bullying Alex, but then here's Matthew's dad, kind of being almost like the lead civilian investigator of this thing. Like, it seems like him and Justine are the only ones that are actually doing anything on their own to try to investigate what happened. They're obviously not going to wait around for the cops to figure anything out, because obviously the cops in this movie, oh man. And when I say the cops in this movie are bad, I'm not saying that when they're on screen, they do or say stupid shit. What I'm saying is that there's information in this movie that doesn't make sense. Example number one, after the Catalyst event happens and the 17 kids disappear, they interview Alex, his aunt, and his father. And the Aunt Gladys, basically tells the police that, oh, he had a stroke recently. Do you know how hard it is to check, to verify if someone's had a stroke? Not fucking at all. Pick up a telephone, call the hospital. It's not like this movie took place in New York City. This movie took place in a small town. So it wouldn't have been difficult for the police to be able to verify that dad actually had a stroke and went to the hospital. On top of the fact that if a guardian has a stroke, they need to name a new guardian right away. Or maybe not them, but maybe power of attorney. Whoever has power of attorney has to name a new guardian. They're not just going to let Alex live with his aunt, who is not officially his guardian. They would take him away, at least temporarily, until the police were able to, verify everything that was happening, and then making sure that Gladys officially did get the guardianship of Alex. So, there's little real world stuff that bothers me. The police never interview Alex's mother. She literally just is never around when, and that, again, that doesn't make sense. The cops would absolutely not accept that. They would, even if she was out of town, they'd have been like, well, you got to tell me where she is, what hotel she's at, because we need to speak to her right away. So another kind of investigative plot hole.
Yeah, but they have the consumption, remember?
Oh, and you know what? I fucking love that line. If you guys haven't figured it out by yet, yes, Gladys is basically Gladys is a witch, and she's the one who's doing all this. I say this now because there's a line in this movie, and it's the one that Bill just talked about, that I fucking love. Just like in Sinners, if you guys remember our review of Sinners, there's a line in Sinners where Remick, the vampire, dates himself. He talks about during the scene when Sammy is saying the Lord's Prayer. Remick talks about, when men came and took my daddy's land, they spoke those words to me. He's referencing when the Church of England took over Ireland in the late 1700s. Which means that Remick in Sinners is about 200 years old. Now, in this movie, Gladys mentions consumption. My friends, consumption is tuberculosis. Yeah. But the term consumption hasn't been used since before the cowboy days.
Right.
Like even in the 1880s, like when stuff like Tombstone would have happened, tuberculosis was a disease, and they called it tuberculosis. I mean, Doc Holliday had tuberculosis, and they called it that. So the fact that Gladys says consumption, a term that people stopped using right around the 1850s, 1860s, means that Gladys is also about 200 years old in this movie. Right. So I kind of like that line. She's dating herself. I love that.
And for the kids in the audience, I love that Marcus even mentioned to her, I haven't heard that since the Oregon Trail.
Exactly. So yeah, kids, play the Oregon Trail. Great history lesson if you haven't played it yet. Anyway, so yeah. What else? There's other elements of the police investigation that didn't work for me. They're kind of slipping my mind right now, but I'd remember having multiple issues with that whole thing. Now, what I did like, one of the many things I liked about this movie was Gladys's performance. Gladys was fucking awesome, despite her being the very obvious antagonist in this film. I thought the way that she was able to turn on the charm when she was talking to the cops or to the principal, and then just shut it completely off when she was talking to Alex and being just the menacing witch that she actually was, even to the point where when she took off her wig, she actually fucking looked like a witch, which was pretty intense. She even looked a little bit like the woman from Barbarian, the creature from Barbarian, a little bit, a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought a nice little homage to Barbarian. So I mean, Mike, Don, come in here and talk to me about Gladys. Like, what did you think of Gladys as a villain? Because I thought she was great, even though, like I said during the first section of the show, I wasn't happy with the ambiguous nature of her motivations. Like, the only thing that I can figure is that because she dated herself with that consumption comment, maybe what she's doing, these spells that she's doing, are actually keeping her young. They don't really imply that in the movie. I know there's a line in the movie where Gladys actually says to Alex that this might actually help make her healthy, but I think that's just her lying. I don't think there was any actual truth to that statement. So, but like I said, because she dates herself and we now know that she's around 200 years old, maybe this is what's keeping her young. I just wish that there was a little bit more seeds, like breadcrumbs, pointing us to that conclusion rather than me kind of making a shot in the dark more than anything. Like I said, hell, Gladys may not even be 200 years old. Maybe she's just so old that she still uses the term consumption, which again doesn't make sense, because if Gladys was born in the 1900s, she should have never even heard the term consumption. So yeah, it's one of those weird kind of dangling plot points that the individual viewer can do what you want with it. But anyway, back to Mike or Don. What did you guys think of Gladys, both her performance and then Gladys as the antagonist? What did you think?
I thought she was good. To me, this story, it kind of feels like it deals with a little bit of fairy tale logic, because she's obviously some kind of like witch type character, but in the same vein of like when you read a lot of fairy tales, there isn't like always a whole lot of background. It's just like, well, the witch or the troll lives under the bridge because that's just what they do. Like we get enough of her doing like her little ritual with like the stick and an object that belongs to someone, which helps her possess them or take control of them. And I guess it's assumed that like she uses people's like life essence or life force or whatever you would want to refer to it to like, I guess, keep herself younger or keep herself living. And I'm assuming that's what she's going to do with the kids. Now, we don't necessarily like, I think that's what's alluded to because she tries with the kids' parents first. And I don't know if it's like she's built up an immunity to like doing that to adults. So she's going to try the kids next because it seems like she's storing them in that basement. I do wish we kind of would have got like something like maybe make one of the two of the kids expendable so we could like see her get into like some ritual to see exactly what she's doing. But as far as like the actress and the character itself, like she was pretty she had a presence every time she was on screen. That's also what I was saying. Like once she shows up, and I do wonder if she was even like really their aunt, because like we do get dialogue that like they don't even like parents barely knew who she was. The kids were babies, so it's like, is she actually legitimately the aunt, or is this one of her tricks to like make her seem like that just so she could get into the town to like mess with everyone and do what she needs to do? I don't know if there's anything definitive on that, but I was wondering after the movie was over. But yeah, I think the actress who played Gladys was good, and like I did like what we got from her. I even wish we got more, like I said, because the kids were in that base. Do you know the timeline that this is supposed to take place from the day or from the time the kids were missing to like the end of the movie?
About 30 days.
You say 30 days?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
The voiceover narration, the little girl tells us that when they reopen the school, it's 30 days after the kids disappeared.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I do kind of wish we got to like see her do some type of ritual because we saw plenty of like her spells to get people to do like actions that she wanted. That was cool. I think the only thing missing was like, but but again, like a lot of times with fairy tales involving kids, if you know, it's like fairy tales tend to get right up to the point where like something is going to happen to the kids, and then that's kind of when like the day is saved or whatever. So like because of the fairy tale logic, I can see why they didn't take it to that level. But just me personally, because of my horror, like I guess like preferences, I would have liked to see that. But otherwise, I thought she was great.
Yeah, yeah. For those who didn't watch the movie and are still with us, just to give you a quick wrap up. Exactly. Like I said, Gladys is their aunt, is Alex's aunt. She appears one night under the guise of being sick and needing Alex's parents to take care of her. Eventually, through a ritual that she performs with a stick, some of her own blood, and personal objects, she's able to control people, basically turning them into mindless assassins, or she can send them on tasks. Like at one point, she sends Alex's mother out to the car to get a piece of Justine's hair. It obviously the scene plays out like she's about to kill Justine, who's sleeping in her car, but she just takes a piece of her hair and then leaves, without doing or saying anything else. So
that fucking scene, man.
yeah, that was crazy. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, Gladys is very obviously some kind of witch. We don't really, like I said, we don't get any specific rhyme or reason as to why she's doing this. Like I said, Mike and I both kind of through some clues that we get in the movie think that maybe she's utilizing getting life force or youth from the people that she controls, because the thing is that once she controls them, they can never come back, which we find out later in the film. Even if she loses her hold on the people that she's controlling, they're basically just vegetables now. They're just mindless husks just kind of standing there. Like they still eat, like you can still feed them, they'll eat. Even some of them even speak. Like Alex's parents, like when they first got turned, actually said, "Oh, hey, buddy, how was your day at school?" And then we don't hear them speak much more after that. Blah blah blah. Like I said, as the police, Justine and Marcus, the school principal, start to get a little bit closer to Gladys and start to potentially get on the right path of figuring out what's going on. Gladys basically takes people out left and right. There's a great scene at Marcus's house where we actually get to see her do the ritual like fully. Earlier in the movie, she visits Marcus, the school principal. She steals one of his ribbons from his office because, like I said, she needs a personal item. When she arrives at Marcus's house, we see her with a stick, and the stick comes like when you see this stick, you can tell that it's not a normal stick. It comes from a potted tree that she has with her. So obviously, it's this tree that has the abilities to do what it is, because I thought that maybe Gladys had some kind of special skills that allowed her to do this. But as we find out later in the film, other people are able to do this spell as well. So it's not necessarily Gladys's ability. It's that tree, that black potted little tree that she brought with her when she went to the house. Somehow that thing, go ahead.
It's called a blackthorn tree.
Thank you very much. Oh, we got our herbologist here. I like it.
I went balls deep into this movie so much the tip came out the mouth.
Nice. Very cool. So there you go. So like I said, that plant is basically the catalyst for all of these spells that are happening. Gladys makes the incredibly stupid mistake of actually showing Alex how to do it. She's not showing him how to do it under the guise of education. It's not like she's purposely trying to show. She's trying to show that she's in control. So she grabs the blackthorn twig. She wraps some hair around it, and basically, first she wraps a personal possession around it. That implies that she will have control over this person. Right. Then she wraps a piece of hair around that. And the piece of hair belongs to the victim. So there's the person that she controls and then their target. And then she pricks herself with the thorn, spreads some of her blood over the stick. And then as soon as she snaps the stick, the mindless assassin goes into action. And in this scene at Marcus's house, it's great. Marcus is actually a gay man. He's there with his husband. We actually see Gladys do this. Like she asks them for a bowl of water under the guise of being thirsty, which obviously doesn't make sense. Who the hell drinks water out of a bowl? But for whatever it's worth, Marcus went ahead and gave it to her. She goes ahead and performs the ritual. The first part of taking control is ringing a bell, a certain bell that has a triangle symbol on it. We see this triangle symbol throughout the movie.
Triangle and a 6.
Yep. But like the triangle we see like in the opening credits, or not the opening credits, but in the title card, we see the triangle at various points in the movie. We see triangles that have been drawn either on the floor or on the wall, things like that, blah, blah, blah. So like I said, Gladys makes the incredible mistake of showing Alex how to do the spell under the guise of, I'm in control. I can make your parents eat each other if I want to. So don't you dare tell anybody about the fact that I'm here or what I'm doing here. But like I said, because of her showing Alex how to do it, Alex then in turn does himself do it at the end of the movie. At one point, his parents, who are still possessed, end up attacking him. At the same time, Josh Brolin and Justine are downstairs being attacked by Paul, the police officer, and James, the crackhead. By the way, we haven't even talked about James yet, who really was a fairly entertaining character. I thought he was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we'll get into James here in a little bit. So like I said, James and Paul are attacking Justine and Archer in the bedroom, in the living room. And then upstairs in the house, Alex's parents are attacking him. And this is when Alex makes the realization that, hey, there's the tree. Like, he literally hides in Gladys's bedroom when he's hiding from his parents. He sees the tree there. He sees the stick poking out of the dirt that is controlling all of the kids. So in his infinite wisdom, he grabs it. He grabs Gladys's wig. And as soon as he grabs Gladys's wig, I'm thinking, dude, I don't think that's going to work because that's fake hair. That's not her hair. But Alex outsmarted me because inside of the wig, there are strands of Gladys's real hair, the long, stringy white hair that Gladys actually has. He literally takes one strand of it, puts it around the stick, pokes himself, pricks his finger, spreads his blood on the stick, and then he snaps the stick. And as soon as he snaps it, the score drops out, all audio drops out, and all we hear is Gladys going, "Oh no." And as soon as she says, "Oh no," we hear the pitter patter of little footsteps. Yes, all 17 of the kidnapped kids are now assassins with a laser focus on getting Gladys. Now, admittedly, this chase scene might go on a little bit longer than some people might like, because it does kind of delve into comedy a little bit. There are multiple funny scenes. Though I gotta say, the kids crashing through all the windows like fucking zombies, I adored that. I thought that was one of the coolest things they could have added to this movie. These kids, they don't have any sense of self-preservation. They are so laser focused on getting Gladys that they're running through wooden doors. They're running through large glass windows. I mean, and the view, like the shots of the kids coming through the windows are so fucking epic. It's so cool. Of course, eventually the kids do. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
Do the people who live in the house just seeing these kids go through the house?
That's right. They're going through inhabited houses while people are having breakfast at the kitchen table, and they're literally just running through their house. Gladys, will open the door and close it behind her very politely. Like she's, she doesn't want to mess with anybody's energy bills. But then when the kids come by, they don't give a fuck. They're running through doors, windows, walls. Oh my God, amazing. Eventually, the kids do end up catching Gladys and they fucking tear her apart. And that is not hyperbole, my friends. They literally tear her legs off. They split her head at the jawline. Basically, a bunch of the kids grab her upper jaw and just start pulling until her head is in two pieces. Eventually, by the time that Josh Brolin catches up to the kids, Gladys is in about 5 pieces on the front lawn. Fucking epic. Unfortunately, though, like I said, even though Gladys has now been dispatched, all of the people that she controls are basically vegetables now. We do get a little bit of good news during the narration at the end of the movie, where the little girl basically says all of the kids were reunited with their parents, and some of them even started talking again this year. So it seems like there is hope. Maybe because the kids are so young, they'll be able to snap out of it sooner than later, whereas the adults, and then Alex's parents, we get an update on Alex's parents. He basically, the narration says Alex's parents are still being fed soup, but now they're in a facility that can take care of them. Alex now lives with a different aunt, and from what I hear, she's a very nice lady. And that's kind of how the narration ends, which again, very poignant. Great to see that Alex gets a little bit of a happy ending. Unfortunately, his parents, there's nothing that can be done for them. And then hopefully the kids will snap out of it with time, since all the kids are, this was a 3rd grade class. So they're like, what, 9-10 years old, maybe 11 at the oldest. So, hopefully with time and re-education, they'll be able to snap out of it. One thing that I found interesting, though, is that Josh Brolin, his character snapped out of his, trance instantly. Now, the only thing I could figure is that he had only been under a trance for like all of a minute. Like literally Gladys grabs him, and then Archer goes back down to the kitchen, grabs Justine. And like I said, within a minute, Alex is able to do the spell himself, snap the stick, and then the kids start giving chase. While the kids are giving chase, Archer is still choking Justine, basically trying to choke the life out of her. And then as soon as the top of her head is ripped off, he snaps out of it. And he's the only one of the possessed adults that actually do snap out of it. So like I said, my theory is probably just that he wasn't under the trance for very long, so he snapped out of it quicker than everybody else.
And Jim not snapping out anything.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, we kind of skipped over some of the chapters. The 2nd chapter was Archer. The 3rd chapter was Paul. Paul was basically the police officer that Justine had a relationship with in the past. They ended up breaking up because of her alcoholism, which we haven't even really talked much about Justine's alcoholism. She is very much an alcoholic in this movie. I don't think we see her go more than 5 to 10 minutes without taking a sip out of something, to the point where she's pouring vodka into a big gulp glass in her fucking car. So she obviously has no regard for drunk driving and shit like that. She does have a DUI from the past. Archer, Josh Brolin's character, did do some research and found out that Justine had a troubled past. She got fired from her last job because of an inappropriate relationship with a member of the staff at that school. She got the DWI about, I don't know, maybe a couple of months before, or the year before, I think he said. So she's obviously a broken character, which makes it easier for the town to blame her. Because if she was just a squeaky clean Christian who went to church, every Sunday, they may not have as much of a platform to stand on. But obviously with her being a broken woman and being fired from her last job, it kind of gives the parents fuel for their fire to blame Justine for what's going on. And that comes off as very realistic, because I totally believe that would happen in real life. I'm not a parent, so I don't know what kind of nightmare it would be for one of your children to go missing. But I'm sure in that situation, as a parent, you're not thinking straight. All you want are results. You don't want any more excuses from the police or from the principal. You just want results. So, I'm a little forgiving of how how much of a how pressure how much pressure Josh Brolin's character put on Justine and the police and the FBI. It just comes off as realistic. So I'm totally down for it. All right. Kills. Let's talk about some of the kills. I started to talk about the scene in the principal's kitchen and got distracted. Of course, Gladys takes possession of the principal. She takes a little bit of hair off of his husband, puts it on the stick, snaps it, and then of course instantly Marcus kills his partner in a fucking glorious kill. Basically headbutted his head into oblivion, just continued headbutting him over and over until his entire fucking face caved in. We don't get the greatest aftermath shot, but we get kind of a side angle of it, and it looks pretty juicy. I'll give him credit for that one. And then of course, after Wong kills his husband, Gladys wraps a piece of Justine's hair around the same stick, snaps it at a different spot in the stick, and then instantly Wong goes out to attack Justine, which we get to see that in 2 different chapters too. We actually see it at the end of Justine's chapter and during Marcus's chapter. We might even see a little bit of it during Archer's chapter even. So, I mean, we get to see Benedict Wong go crazy 3 different times in the movie. It's pretty awesome.
Yes. Those eyes.
And that's something that I also haven't mentioned, the bugged out eyes. It seems like in this movie, the longer that the adults are possessed by Gladys, their eyes get more bugged out. Maybe it's not necessarily the longer they're possessed. Maybe it's just the fact that they have a target and they're going after that target with reckless abandon. Because we see the same thing with James, the crackhead, when he attacks Josh Brolin in the house, his eyes are bugged out. When Alex's mother attacks him at the end of the film, her eyes are bugged out. So that was a nice, subtle little thing that I thought was great.
Yep. And I have a hypothesis. It also deals with the hands that the people run with too.
Oh, the little airplane position. Yeah.
So I have a thought about that too when it's my turn.
Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm curious.
Oh, I'm thinking of obviously the movie Weapons are the people that she is under her control. It's not them in charge. It's like a magnetic force making them go. Like, for instance, Marcus had no idea where Julia Garner's where she was when she was putting fuel in her car, but it drove him there. It was a force, and it's pushing them toward there. It's like a magnetic force. Their eyes are bulging out toward there. Their bodies are being pushed toward them, toward their victim. That's why their hands are flying behind them and their eyes are bulging out. It's all the way their bodies are. It's all like they're being pushed there,
Yeah. I mean, with the eyes bugging out, that absolutely makes sense. Almost like their eyes are what they're using as a compass, and it's so drawn to their target that it's almost coming out of their head a little bit. Yeah, no, I love that. That's like absolutely awesome.
They're like resisting it, but it's not helping.
And then sadly, Marcus ends up getting hit by a car. This turns into another great aftermath shot because, as it turns out, his head gets squished and then spread all over the road. Oh, so good. Yeah, like I said, the kills in this movie, they're few and far between, but when we get them, they're pretty fucking impressive. And like I said, right down to the last kill, Gladys's kill, just beautiful. Obviously, gorehounds like Don and myself wish we would have seen more, or maybe a better aftermath shot, because the aftermath shot was kind of from the side and Josh Brolin's character was like partially blocking it.
Yeah, I was looking really cool. I was like, oh, come on, show it all, more, but no.
Exactly. Yeah, especially because it's that character. I'm the kind of person that I want to see the antagonist of a film literally get torn to pieces, like every fucking movie that I watch. So that's what I mean. I was very glad that what was the movie that we did recently with Pete Davidson? I think it was The Home. That movie gave me one of the most satisfying endings I could possibly get. And then of course this movie is right there giving me another incredibly satisfying ending. No moral dilemmas, no worries about getting arrested. It just, they do what they gotta do. And obviously the kids are possessed in this movie, so it's not like they even have a choice in the option.
Right.
But
the poor people who was in the path of destruction with those kids. Does homeowners insurance? I don't know.
I am thinking because at the beginning of the movie, they talk about how the police covered up this entire thing because they were embarrassed about the fact that they couldn't solve it. I bet you the police paid for the damages. They probably told the homeowners, don't call your insurance. We don't want a paper trail. We will pay for the damage. And then there's no proof that it ever happened. And that's my theory anyway.
Oh, have you noticed something? I know the movie it took place in Illinois, I believe the license plate had, but it was shot obviously in Atlanta, and there was a lot of back alley scenes you could see were used for the Walking Dead. I was like, oh, cool.
Nice. Yeah. A lot of the scenes with James going around those alleys. Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're absolutely right. That was great.
That was so cool.
Oh man, what else can we talk about? I mean, we haven't really talked too much about the technical aspects of the movie. We've all kind of alluded to it. You know, the great cinematography, the great score, but I mean, like this score worked for me in so many ways. Like I said earlier during my general thoughts, the fact that they could take a shot that's not supposed to be creepy and make it creepy based on how it's shot and the score that's playing underneath. That's masterful. That's Oz Perkins right there. That's absolute Oz Perkins. So yeah, like halfway through the movie, I'm like, did Oz direct this like secretly? Like, you know, like a pen name is Zach Kreger a pen name? But then of course he directed Barbarian as well. So
he's also written Miss March. I never knew about that. Never saw it.
Oh, did he? No, I didn't know that either. Nice.
So I gotta look into
by the way, I did just figure out Justin Long's wife in the movie was Sarah Paxton.
Oh, that's
yeah, that's Sarah Paxton. I couldn't, but I'm looking at her like, wait a minute, I know that lady, American Horror Story, and a plethora of other things that she's done. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you got a Sarah Paxton to do what, a 2-minute role, maybe not even 2 minutes. So, I mean, that's impressive. I mean, obviously, when you get big name stars that are willing to do quick scenes like that, that means that they're on board with this script. They read this script and they saw something that they loved. Go ahead.
She's married to Zach Kreger.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like with our movie last week, you know, with the couple in Together, Dave Franco and the girl, they're also together.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to be becoming more common nowadays, which, you know, I'm on board for.
But no, you were saying about the production. Oh my God, the production value. There was actual humor in the production. All right. First of all, the dark stuff. I know one of the guys who was the set dresser for the movie. So I asked him this thinking it might have been a continuity error. I wasn't sure. So there's a scene where Archer, who sleeps in his son Matthew's bed with the Batman sheets and all that, and shows him wake up in the real world with his wife saying she's going to work. And you can see where the bed is in the room. Okay, everything's right. The posters are right there. The dartboard's to the right. Then when he's dreaming and he's running out the door and he sees like his son running away and he's following him, Matthew. Oh, and by the way, fuck that kid, Matthew. I hate that kid.
We all hate bullies on this show too.
Anyway, Matthew runs home and they're back at the house and he's going to see the kid in the bed, and the bed is different. The bed is not in the same place it was in real life.
Yeah. So it's backwards.
Right. So I asked the dresser.
Go ahead.
I said, "Hey James, is that right? I mean, was that on purpose or was that a mistake?" I said, "Was that intentional?" He said, "Yep." I said, "Aha," because it made me feel uneasy seeing. I was like, "No, that's not right." My OCD was like, "No."
Right.
So,
like, if you watch that dream very carefully, when the dream starts, Josh Brolin is in his house in the regular version of the house. Right. Then the clock turns to 2:17. We see the door open. He chases Matthew out the door. Then he gets to a mirror image of his house. So the house that Matthew runs to is still his house, but it's reversed. You could tell from the front door too. The front door is on the opposite side.
Oh, that I did not catch that.
Yeah, so it's literally a mirror image. So like When Archer is in that reversed house and he's talking to Matthew saying, "Where are you? Talk to me." That's basically just implying that he's gone, but he's findable. You know, you may not speak to you. The clues may not tell you where he is, but yes, he is very definitely still alive and still somewhere familiar. And that familiar place, of course, was Alex's house. I don't know. Obviously, Matthew being Alex's bully, maybe, you know, the likelihood that Matthew was ever at Alex's house is slim to none, obviously, but just like I said, the mere fact that we get that mirror image in that dream sequence, I noticed it on the second watch myself because it's true. He runs out of the house and then he runs to a mirror image of the same house, and that struck me as interesting. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Another thing I thought was fun was again the dresser of the set of the movie. I said that is hilarious. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but when he had the gay couple, you know, the Marcus and his husband or boyfriend or whatever, they were shopping for like the worst foods you can think of.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles for the gay couple. And then when he's out dinner, it's a bunch of hot dogs. I'm like, serious?
Oh, hot dogs, carrots, celery, like every phallic food possible.
I don't know if that was pressing or if that was Zach being stupid. I don't know. It was hilarious though.
No, it really was, especially Benedict Wong's. Did you notice like his the way his face changed? He got all excited when the hot dogs came in the room. I was like, oh my God, it's too heavy-handed.
Yes, and like the Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse shirts, they matched. Oh my God, I was just like, I get it. It's a joke, but oh man, I can't believe
it's one of those subtle jokes that you're really only going to catch if you're paying attention. But jokes like that I love. Right. You know, when a director rewards his viewers for really paying attention to the background and the sides of the shots and everything else, I adore that.
And you did notice the cordyceps, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right after the video too.
And you notice the parasites on the blackboard.
Yep. Absolutely. That cordyceps video is interesting. Like on first watch, I didn't understand why that was there. I got it on the second watch. I understood the metaphor.
And then you get the metaphor of Aunt Gladys. She's not really their aunt. She's probably been in, found a family and said, "Oh yeah, I'm your aunt." So Alex's mother thinks, "Hey, it's my mom's aunt." Alex thinks it's his mother's aunt. You know what I mean? Like everyone thinks it's someone's aunt going up the line.
Right. No, you're right.
She
Absolutely.
found this family and injected
confused.
herself. Yeah. And I think the reason that some of the kids and adults didn't come back, I think she was feeding off them, but she was only feeding little by little. First with the parents, with Alex's parents. She fed off them as much as could, so they couldn't come back. They were beyond. They were done. Because remember,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't get any more out of them, or whatever she said. But the kids, I don't think she fed on all the kids, just a few of them. So I think that's the reason why. Why some came back and talked. She fed off a few of those, and the ones that she did never came back. But none of them really came back. You know, normal. They were still messed up. But notice in the beginning, the little girl saying, "And they never came back."
That's right. Yeah, that's a little bit of a misnomer. She did say they never come back at the beginning, but then at the end, they technically do come back, just not as themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's valid. Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, folks, I mean, this is one of those types of movies that we could dissect for hours. Just every single little shot, every little line of dialogue. Gladys almost not even really hiding what she's trying to do, like almost being almost transparent with like the police and the principal and everything else, but she still, at least for a long time, got away with it. Until brave little Alex figured out what he needed to do.
That's another thing. Alex, I think she did intend to teach him because.
Oh, you think? See, I thought that was just a power play. I thought that was just her showing him, "Hey, I'm the boss. I can make your parents eat themselves if I want them to."
Right.
I didn't think that was actually her teaching him how to do it, but I mean, it's valid. It definitely could be, because she was obviously up there in age. So who knows? Maybe she wanted to pass on her abilities to somebody.
I agree. I think at first she was trying to just show him the power she had, but then kept him around just, so she could feed off his classmates. But at the end of the movie, she knew the jig was up. And she was like, all right, we got to get out of here. Me and you are leaving. She was going to take him with her, which means she probably.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, to teach him her ways. You know what I mean?
Or feed off him. Yeah, definitely. One or the other. I mean, because if Alex really isn't her nephew, then she has no actual attachment to him. So, potentially he could be like her road meal, if you will. It's a possibility. Obviously, like I said, we could come up with hypotheses and theories and everything else for hours, but
right, but she could have just fed off him and left. No, she said she's taking him with her.
Yeah, no, exactly. I genuinely believe that it probably takes her some time to feed. Like, it's not the kind of thing that she can do instantly. She probably does it very slow, which would make sense in the continuity of this film. So I'll go with that.
Right. Another thing with that, going with that, is the people she controls, she doesn't feed off of. She just, like, do you remember when Archer was in the basement looking for his son? She popped out and just grabbed his necklace.
Yep.
So she grabbed his necklace, tied it around the stick that snapped it. She had just enough time to do that so that he wasn't lost. You know what I mean? He wasn't fed upon.
Exactly. No, you're right. Absolutely.
So that's why
I figured that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Also, here's another thing. When the kid was, poor Alex was going to feed his parents and then had to feed his whole family and classroom. Where's he getting the money? I don't think Gladys was giving him her credit card.
You never know. I mean, maybe he was using his parents' like debit card or something. Or I mean, obviously, since we never see it, we can assume that it happened off screen, maybe, because it's true. I mean, Alex is like 10, 11 years old, and he's going to the store and buying 2 full bags of cans of soup because he's got to feed 19 people.
Yes. Oh, and then I'm glad he switched to the Pop-Top cans too. That poor, my heart dropped when he was trying to get that first can.
Yes. I loved it. Oh, that was so good. No, you're right. Absolutely. Well, folks,
want to talk about.
Oh yeah, please.
All right. The biggest thing in the movie I didn't like is, all right, you got to think timeline wise, okay? Remember when Paul and James, he had him in the back seat and they stopped off in front of the house and James said, that's the house. And Paul went in. That was in the daytime, right? And he was in the back of the car till nighttime. And then Paul came out and dragged him into the house, remember, to get changed. Well, then the next morning, the kid went to school. Then the kid came back from school and noticed the cop car. How come the kid didn't see the cop car in the morning when he went to school?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's valid. I don't know that that's a plot point that would affect me too terribly much, since
the kid would have saw Paul and James standing there in the corner when he went to school and the cop car there, but it didn't.
Well, as far as James and Paul standing in there,
yeah,
I could believe that Alex would miss it. I mean, it's the kind of thing where he was spending all his time in his bedroom unless he had to feed somebody. So I could see how he would get ready for school and then just run out of the house. Like, I mean, literally like, oh, I get to spend the next 6 hours without this witch around me, So, I'm shooting in the dark, obviously, but and I don't know. Like I said, I don't think it's that much of a plot hole.
No,
but I mean, it's a plot hole. It's a valid plot hole, absolutely. But like I said, since we don't actually see Alex go to school that morning, it's not highlighted, so I can allow it. It's not going to affect. It's not going to be a detriment to my enjoyment of the film. Ultimately.
Oh no, I agree. I am not. It didn't affect me whatsoever. Except it kept bugging me after it was brought up on another podcast. I said, "Wow, that kid would walk out the door."
Yeah, the thing. The thing that bothered me the most, like I said, was just the police investigation being so terrible. Like, The fact that, the whole thing with the dad having a stroke, the whole thing with the mom not being around, the whole thing with Gladys acting as a guardian when she very obviously is not the guardian. Like, these are all things that would not happen in real life during a real police investigation. Now, obviously, most people don't know that. I'm an old fart, so obviously, I've been around cops a lot. But it's the kind of thing where general audiences may not realize that that's supposed to happen. So it's not really going to be that much of a detriment to people like that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's definitely going to be something that I'll always think about. Like I said, this movie is not a 10 out of 10 for me. It falls ever so slightly short, and it's because of those 2 points. The ambiguous nature of what Gladys is doing, and then just the terrible police investigation. But other than that, the movie is flawless.
I agree.
It cannot. And even those 2 points aren't enough to be a detriment to the movie. Like, I'll point it out because I did have problems with it after watching the movie twice, but it's not so bad that, I'm going to ding it and say that, fuck this movie now, because it doesn't make sense. Every movie has continuity issues ultimately. And I mean, not everybody is Martin Scorsese, sadly. So, I mean, every horror movie is going to have some continuity issues. So I tend to be a little bit more forgiving of those, especially when 99% of the movie was fucking great. I'll forgive that 1%. So yeah, this movie isn't quite my number 1 of the year, but it is easily my number 2 of the year. I actually did give a 10 out of 10 earlier in the year. Regular listeners, you should already know what fucking movie I'm talking about, because I'm actually contemplating getting a tattoo. Just to show you how much I fucking love this movie, I am contemplating getting a tattoo of Smoke and Stack. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Oh no, I was just laughing at the tattoo you're gonna get. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I dig it. All right. Well, obviously, Bill and I have taken up the lion's share of the conversation here. So before we get out of here, once again, I'll turn it over to my co-hosts, Mike and Don. If they have any closing thoughts to make before we get out of here. Like I said, I can talk about this movie for another 2 hours easily, but we're already at the 2-hour mark for the show, which is already one of our longest episodes ever. So like I said, Mike, Don, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, I had enough fun with it that I'm not going to hate it either for the few little niggling nit points that, were brought up here. It's a fun time. I wish it was a little bit shorter. I wish a few things with the investigation were handled a little differently. But yeah, I had enough fun with it, and yeah, there's still a whole lot more to like about it that kind of keeps it up overall.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun with this one. I loved the mystery aspect. I liked Gladys, the witch character. I thought this movie did a whole lot of things well, and any critiques I have are minimal, and I recommend going to see it in the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've already said, this is an absolute theatrical watch. If you can get a chance to see it in IMAX, I would suggest it. I saw it once in IMAX and once in Prime Laser, which is basically, AMC's 4K presentation. And the movie looks great regardless. I mean, even if you watched it on a smaller screen, I think it would be great. But yeah, I definitely recommend this as a theatrical watch. I've only really recommended 4 or 5 movies this year as must watch in theaters. And yeah, Weapons is absolutely one of them. So go check it out if you don't have a chance. It's only been out a week. It should be in theaters for at least a few more weeks, especially with the buzz that it's getting. I mean, this thing was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes up until last week. Currently, it's 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it tells you a lot. Obviously, that doesn't mean the movie is going to work for everybody. But I think, especially if you liked Barbarian, I think there's no reason that you wouldn't love this one as well. So high recommendation from me. And I'm going to shut up before I just bore everyone to death. So, Mike.
All right. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for our discussion on Weapons. It looks like, one of the rare times well, I was going to say all three of us, but actually, including Bill, all four of us are mostly on the same page with a movie. It happens less than you would think, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But before we get out of here, let's find out what else new we have from everyone. Bill, I'll start with you. Are you currently doing any podcasts regularly at the moment?
Not yet, but I'm in the process of doing something. I have a professional recording studio and some friends who want to get into it. So
Nice.
we have a tentative title too. I don't know how it sounds, but you want to hear it?
Yeah, sure.
It's called Middle-Aged Monsters.
Nice.
Nice.
That is our tentative title.
That's funny because it could apply to the host, but then also some of the years that it's been since some of the movies were made. So, um, well, hopefully this was like flexing some of the muscle memory, and getting back on a podcast and talking movies. So it was great to have you.
Thank you so much. It's been a long time. I couldn't wait to get back into
Yeah,
bullshit somewhere, you know?
and luckily in your case, like you kind of got to come on to discuss a movie that you like, because sometimes randomly it just turns out like we'll have people on and they're just kind of doing whatever we happen to be we didn't know ahead of time, and then they end up having a miserable time talking about a miserable movie.
Dude, I am so passionate about this movie. You have no idea. There's more I didn't talk about. Like
Oh
the
yeah.
gun and like the 217, like so much.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's right. But we didn't even talk about the assault rifle in the sky and the symbolism behind that. I mean, like I said, folks, there's a lot of stuff we didn't talk about. Even if you haven't seen it and you stuck around with us, I would still highly recommend this movie. There's beautiful iconography, symbolism throughout. Like I said, it is damn near a masterpiece. I'm gonna say it's a masterpiece. Most people might not agree with me, but I don't care. I fucking loved it. And yeah, go see it.
Cool. Venom, what else, do you got anything new, like any guest appearances?
No, unfortunately. Still the latest episode of No More Room in Hell presents Creature Comforts. Episode 61 is the latest episode available, where we looked at 1957's The Black Scorpion. We're going to be taking a trip into Bigfoot land for the next episode, though I'll still keep that title under my hat until it's a little bit closer to record time. And unfortunately, that's about all I have. Not much on the Crystal Lake gift shop front. Hoping to get an episode out, before the end of this month. Obviously, it's a matter of Mike and Lacey getting together and being able to do it. It's a short show, so it shouldn't take long, and it's even an easy edit for me. So, like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get an episode out in August. That would be episode 10 of the Crystal Lake gift shop. Of course, looking at episode 10 of Friday the 13th, the series, which aired from 1987 to 1990. And that's pretty much all I have. Like I said, no guest spots and no other major things to talk about, sadly. This was a kind of a light summer for podcasting for me this year. This is probably the least podcasting I've done for an entire summer. So hopefully we don't repeat that in 2026. Back to you, Mike.
All right. What about you, Don? Anything new?
As mentioned, Creature Comforts, I think we're working on our dates for I guess the cat's out of the bag now with it being Bigfoot, but I guess we're working on a date for that to get that recorded. Last minute thing, I did join NFW for I guess now it's the singular Shark Week film. We looked at Dangerous Animals, which was a fun revisit. Now that didn't get the theatrical glare and other issues that came about with that, so it was fun to revisit that one. And just still waiting on the other guest spot shows that I did with Paranormal is the New Normal. Hopefully, those are going to come out sooner rather than later because I'm getting tired of talking about them. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me.
All right. For me, nothing new. If I want to mention, I would just say that episode of 22 Shots I did a few weeks back, talking about some summer getaway movies. What Is there something theatrical this week?
Yes, we got 2 theatrical movies opening this week. The first one is going to be in limited release, and I would imagine it's going to be the one that we're going to do because this director actually had my #1 movie of 2020. That, of course, is Joe Bagos, and his latest movie is called Jimmy and Stiggs. It's actually a Fathom event that's going to play for a week starting on August 15th in certain theaters. So check your local listings. Obviously, Joe Bagos, the director of VFW, Bliss, Christmas, Bloody Christmas, like just some of my favorite movies. So obviously, I'm looking forward to that one. And then the bigger release in theaters this week is the Witchboard remake. Yes, they remade Witchboard and it releases this Friday. So obviously I'll see both in the theaters, but I got a funny feeling we're going to lean towards the Joe Bagos movie because of just how much I love that director. Even though this movie is an alien invasion movie, and I famously don't like alien invasion movies, the fact that it's Joe Bagos, I'm very excited for it. So yeah, Jimmy and Stiggs on the next episode of Fresh Cuts.
Yeah, I know for sure I'm getting screenings for the new Bigos one. Witchboard, I gotta check to see if I am. So more, I mean, we'll figure it out. But I mean, I'll know for sure by the end of the week. Cool. All right. Well, one last time before we get out of here, thanks a lot for joining us, Bill. It came together pretty smooth and easy. So come back anytime.
Hey, thank you so much. I just want to add, Chuck Russell is doing that Witchboard remake, and I trust this fucking guy with my life for remakes. He did The Blob in 1988.
Yeah,
nice.
It's funny because like I randomly got a trailer for the new Witchboard probably like a month or so ago before I don't know, I don't remember what movie I was seeing. And I expected, okay, they'll probably start running this trailer like more as it gets closer. But after that one time, I never saw it in the theater again. So I was wondering when it released. So it looks like we're finally at the release time. So hopefully it does get screenings here because I thought the trailer actually looked pretty decent. I've seen the original, and from what I've read, this is kind of like from what I understand, it's like the basic premise, but it's not like a straight up like remake in that vein. It's still kind of gonna be its own thing. And like I said, the trailer got me more hyped than like when I read it on paper. Because when I heard Witchboard remake, I was like, that seems like a weird one to like focus on a remake on. But once I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, like kind of
Well, it's
actually
not a
looks
Ouija
interesting.
board, it's a pendulum board, and it's by the guy who directed Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Like the people involved give me some hope. Cool. All right. Well, with that said, we're gonna get out of here. Thanks to everyone for listening to another episode. We'll catch you in a week with another one. Let's say bye to listeners.
Later.
Peace out.
Fuck Aunt Gladys.
Fuck Matthew.
Peace.